As a key economic indicator for Maine, the MEREDA Index measures the pulse of the state's real estate industry. It is the leading way the Maine commercial real estate industry tracks changes in the market. It is a composite of 9 measures reflecting activity in both new development and existing properties, in commercial and residential markets, as well as construction employment, all statewide. MEREDA has published the index since the first quarter of 2006, and this current edition covers the index through the fall of 2015. It is formulated for MEREDA by Dr. Charles Kogan, an economist with USM's Muskie School of Public Service. This MEREDA index comes in at 100 this year, signifying solid performance for the last 2 quarters. Both the residential and commercial markets showed growth over the first 3 quarters of 2015 compared with the end of 2014, resulting in a 4% rise in the MEREDA index. Growth was led by a particularly strong residential index, which rose 9%. The commercial index, which showed some volatility in 2015, showed an overall rise of 2% over the first 3 quarters of 2015, while the construction index remains largely unchanged over the year. The commercial index comprises 50% of the overall index figure. This portion of the index has exhibited somewhat greater volatility than in the past several reports, although the overall index is up 2% over the first 3 quarters, led by a steady increase in the volume of commercial transactions and a firming up of lease rates per square foot. The commercial square foot index has been the most volatile, falling to 92 in the first quarter and then jumping to 286 in the second quarters, as several large properties were sold. The residential market makes up for 40% of the overall index. Sales of existing units led the way in the first really strong performance in the residential index in several years. All the other components of the residential index also increased, with the median price index up 4%, the mortgage originations index up 21%, and new residential permits up 6% in 2015. While growing, new construction remains well below the level of 2006, meaning most housing demand is being met by existing unit sales, whose index is now above 2006 levels. Construction employment, weighted at 10% of the overall index, continues its lackluster performance. As of 2015 quarter 3, it stands at just below 80 and has not been above 85 since 2008 quarter 4. 4 of Maine's top industry leaders will talk about specific sectors. Jennifer Small on commercial, Daniel McGuire on the residential senior housing market, Brian Bowman on construction, and special introductory remarks provided by Vin Verino.
My name is Vin Verino. I am the president and CEO of J.B. Brown & Sons, a commercial real estate owner and developer in Portland. The MEREDA Index provides us some sort of, not only a little bit of a look back, but a look forward of where the trends are in the marketplace, and so we can identify opportunities for growth. I think the market conditions can offer some outlook on conditions with respect to where interest rates might be heading, where some of the opportunities in the marketplace are with respect to either residential, hospitality, industrial and office opportunities. The Portland market growth has been primarily based upon the positive accolades the city has received both locally and nationally as a great place to visit, live, work, and entertain. The biggest impact these accolades had for our company in 2015 was the addition of the Courtyard Marriott to our portfolio, which has really afforded a very high occupancy level, higher than we expected when we put the project together, of people visiting Portland and take advantage of, the restaurants, shopping, and just physical beauty of Maine and Portland. I think the market bodes well for the greater Portland market and the state of Maine, frankly, in 2016. Interest rates are still low, although there is some headwinds of potentially increasing interest rates. I think there's some pent-up demand with respect to office and warehouse opportunities, and especially in the residential market, where Greater Portland's housing stock is relatively old. So I think there's some opportunity to provide sort of a better product. We are in the process of doing our first market rate housing project since the 1980s on the corner of High and York Street. So we're quite excited about adding that to our product mix. Our residential project will be a 63-unit market rate housing with about 15,000 square feet of ground floor retail and about 211 parking spaces. There'll be larger market rate housing units, maybe 1,200 square feet for a 2-bedroom unit. And we think we will offer something that's not available in the marketplace right now on a market rent basis. You know, are we on the top of the market is a good question. I don't think we're quite at the top of the market. I don't foresee major problems in 2016 or 2017. I still think the section of the real estate market we're in is still an active growth market. The pitfalls that I see on the horizon in 2016 will be a shortage of skilled labor in the construction trades that might increase construction costs, which might damper new development. I think that's probably the biggest risk that we see. There's always a disconnect in the Portland market on the cost to develop versus the cost to rent, or the willingness of someone to pay a rent that will satisfy that construction cost. So that's always a balance that exists in this marketplace. The opportunities in the marketplace for office would indicate that there's a real need for new office space. The balancing act is providing that office space and also providing the necessary parking, which is an expensive proposition, not only to provide it for the new development, but also for the parking that's on the land that will be developed. So that's a challenge that will be interesting to see how it is handled in 2016 by several developers. There are a fair amount of exciting projects that are on the horizon in Portland. Not only the residential project that J.B. Brown will undertake, but if the federated project down on Marginal Way adds another 400 market rate housing units, what Jonathan Cully is doing on Congress Street, all add to sort of increasing the livability of Portland. There's a potential for an additional hospitality project down on the waterfront, and with Jim Brady's potential project at the Portland Company, I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth in Portland and some really exciting stuff.
My name is Jennifer Small and I work at Malone Commercial Brokers, and I am a commercial real estate broker. I think the MEREDA Index is going to be very helpful moving forward. I think as we get more numbers and more data under our belt, we'll be able to use it more comparatively to where it's been in the past. The MEREDA Index is 20 points higher now than we were 1 year ago, and I think that's very reflective of what's happened over the past year. When you look back 6 months, it was 10 points lower. However, that's only a picture of the last 6 months. So I think looking at the commercial real estate market over a 12-month period versus a 6-month period certainly gives us a much better reflection. The market right now, depending upon what sector we're talking about, is very strong. The office market is certainly a market where we're seeing vacancy rates become much tighter. The Class A market is certainly our strongest market, I would say, right now in the office side of things. Class B market still tends to be a little bit soft, but I think it's certainly holding steady. We're seeing rates holding where they are, or in some cases in the Class A market starting to increase a bit. There is a lack of large floor plates for larger users in our greater Portland market right now, so it is spurring a little bit of new construction, but with construction costs being fairly high at the moment, it's certainly not causing a robust amount of construction. I think the major trend that we saw in 2015 was the sales activities. I think a lot of our clients are taking advantage of the low interest rates, and I foresee that happening in 2016 as well. It'll be interesting to see what the sale activity does as interest rates rise. In the recession, I think we saw a lot more leasing going on rather than sales. Many of our clients are keeping a close eye on interest rates. Sale prices are very high, are really in some sectors at an all-time high at this point. It leaves many of us scratching our head trying to figure out how some of these deals will actually work. So I don't see sale prices pushing too much higher. I think if anything, they're going to stay where they are. And if interest rates fall, then certainly we'll see some decrease in that. I think 2016 is going to be a fantastic year in commercial real estate. I think we're going to see all sectors continue to be very strong. I think we're going to see high activity in both the sales and the leasing side of things, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic 2016. The top of the market, I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you exactly where it was, but I think we've had a very, very strong 2015. I hope it's not the top of the market, but we'll see in 2016.
My name is Daniel McGuire. I'm the managing partner of Sandy River Company. We're a healthcare firm specializing in the senior care and healthcare industry. Well, the market in 2015 in senior care was quite amazing. There's a number of projects that have been developed. Roughly between 2014 and now, 850 new senior housing, assisted living, independent living units have come online. We're in the middle of developing 3 projects right now, a 95-unit assisted living, independent living facility in Westbrook, 2 70-unit memory care assisted living projects, one in Wells, Maine, and one in Brunswick. So there's a number of people getting into this business as seniors continue to age in our state. One of the bigger issues in the state of Maine is how do we deal with rural Maine and people that are aging in our state that don't have the resources to afford market rate housing. To that end, we really need a strong commitment from the state of Maine and from the governor's office to provide bond financing to really strengthen the Maine State Housing Authority programs that can work with those developers and organizations that do subsidize housing in the state of Maine. One of the concerns we have as developers is, so I call it the pizza par syndrome. Nobody's paying attention to how many people are actually developing certain new projects. And the risk is that there's too much going on. I think we're getting pretty close to the top level of the supply for assisted living, nursing care, independent living in the greater Portland area in southern Maine. But I think it's going to pause for a bit, and then when the baby boomers get close to 80 years old or move through the 70s, it's just going to grow again. Well, the biggest concern I have is that I'm going to keep aging, and I have a sign in my office that says, be good to your children, because someday they pick out your nursing home. So I take that very seriously, and making sure we develop good products and good projects for the people in the state of Maine and for seniors. We specialize in senior care development and senior housing development, and I have to say, of all the development kinds of activities we can do, it's a very challenging and very difficult process to develop new senior care facilities and healthcare facilities. We rely heavily on local banks, and we're very blessed in our industry to have a number of local banks that really believe in providing good quality products to seniors in Maine. I also want to mention that we work with a pool of investors from around the country that believe in the state of Maine and believe in the work that we do. And without that equity coming together with the bank financing, we could never create what we create.
My name's Brian Bowman, Vice President of Bowman Constructors. Our office is in Newport. We build, renovate, tear down commercial buildings. Been doing it for 30 years. We use the MEREDA Index and look at it in historical ways, and we use that for strategic planning and direction to point our resources and strategies for our business. The recession caused us to look critically at our company to see what was really important and profitable and which really made sense to us as a company. And we have grown from that and fostered those critical pieces and are taking advantage of that in the upswing of the market. We have recovered from the recession in market volume, size, and employment. We're back to our pre-recession employment levels and are starting to exceed that. People are calling us now instead of having to call them. The market outside the Portland market, north, is starting to feel the wave. Portland always is an indicator for us prior to it getting to us, either on the recession side or the upside. So we're waiting another year to hear the bubble pop and the wave hit us. The multifamily and senior housing market is specialized from a general contractor's perspective. It takes experience to meet owners' needs, financial institution and tax credit needs, and that's been a good market for us. Our clients are very positive about the economy and are willing to put in equity needed to step forward on some projects, either new or renovation. We're currently speaking with a bunch of clients who are ready for the 2016 market and are willing and able to step forward to make that commitment. In our market area, I don't feel that we have reached the peak of the market. Most of our work and customers are driven from the southern part of the state, and that market may have peaked at this point, but in the central to northern Maine, we've not reached that. We look forward to 2016. We think the market is going to be strong. We are going to struggle, as most contractors are, with construction tradespeople and construction laborers. Getting enough people to do the work is going to be our challenge. We are especially optimistic about the 2016 construction season because we have currently on our books the same amount of volume that we had ending in 2015 and have room for growth and have hired people to do the work.